Have you heard of Lady Galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
This 12-year-old musician who's already making waves, winning awards, performing at some pretty legendary venues like Carnegie Hall.
Really?
We're diving deep into her music today. We've got lyrics from two of her songs, Mortal and Petrichor, and a bio that kind of paints a picture of this rising star.
So, what are we looking for in this deep dive?
Well, I'm really curious about the stories behind the music.
Okay.
Like, what's she trying to say?
Yeah.
And how is she already making such a big impact at such a young age?
Yeah, 12 years old and already performing at Carnegie Hall.
It's crazy, right?
That's wild.
Okay, let's start with Petrichor. This song was just premiered at the Ukrainian Embassy in London.
Wow. That location seems significant,
right?
Especially now.
Totally.
With everything going on in the world.
It makes you think about the power of music to transcend borders and bring people together.
Yeah.
And to offer hope in difficult times.
It was like Lady Galaxy, this young voice, singing about, renewal and reconciliation in a place that represents resilience and the hope for peace.
Exactly. And the Ukrainian Embassy, given the current world events, it's not just a venue,
Right.
It becomes this powerful symbol.
For sure.
Her lyrics really capture that feeling too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, listen to these lines from Petrichor. Sinking in the quicksand destiny, set in stone, fly above, be a dove stand, be proud, be a voice.
Powerful imagery.
It is, right. It's interesting how she uses, the imagery of rain and cleansing throughout the song.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's washing away the old and making space for something new.
It's very intentional.
I think so.
Petrichor itself, refers to that earthy scent that comes after rainfall.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fresh start.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that feeling of renewal. You might find Petrichor especially resonant if you're going through a period of change in your own life.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Or looking for a fresh start yourself.
It's like a metaphor for personal growth and resilience.
Yeah.
And she's performing it in a city that's steeped in musical history.
Oh, is that right?
The Ukrainian Embassy is right near where music legends like Freddie Mercury and Paul McCartney once lived. It makes you wonder if Lady Galaxy is consciously tapping into that legacy.
Yeah, are those influences shaping her music in some way?
That's a great question.
Is it intimidating to perform in those spaces, do you think?
Maybe a little.
Or inspiring?
Probably both. It's you're following in the footsteps of giants.
Right.
But you also have this opportunity to make your own mark.
It's a lot of pressure for a 12-year-old.
It is. Speaking of legendary venues, her song Mortal won a competition at the Shaw Theater.
Oh, okay.
Which is also where Elton John has performed.
Wow.
But Mortal has a completely different vibe from Petrichor.
Really?
Yeah, it feels much more introspective, There's this one line that really stuck with me. It's not the time to think about eternity, because it doesn't really stay.
It's interesting that she's exploring themes of mortality.
I know, right?
At such a young age.
It makes you wonder what experiences have shaped her perspective. What has she seen or felt that's made her think about life and death in this way?
Or maybe she's just really wise beyond her years.
Maybe. And then she follows that line with, say, we don't live that long. But just because of that phrase, people decided to fight parades, so it makes you think about how our awareness of time, can fuel both conflict and action.
It's a powerful concept.
It is. But you know what really blows my mind?
What?
She already has 12 copyrighted songs.
No way.
And she's only 12 years old.
That is impressive.
It's she's not just a performer, She's a songwriter with something to say.
It makes you curious about her creative process.
Totally.
Where does she get her inspiration from?
It's hard to say, but you also can't ignore the current context of the war in Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
And how that's shaping European culture.
Absolutely. There's been this surge in artistic expressions of solidarity and calls for peace.
It seems like Lady Galaxy's music,
Yeah.
With its themes of unity and hope, it's she's tapping into that same sentiment.
Definitely.
And it's resonating beyond Europe, too.
Oh, yeah.
She's won awards in Hollywood, Tokyo, Paris.
Wow.
She even has an invitation to perform at Carnegie Hall.
That's amazing.
So before we, go any further, what's standing out to you about Lady Galaxy so far?
I think her lyrical depth is really striking, especially for someone her age.
Right.
It's she's already lived a lifetime.
Yeah.
And is pouring all that wisdom and emotion into her music.
It's true.
But it also makes me wonder, is this maturity truly hers, or is there some adult influence guiding her?
That's a good point. We'll have to keep that in mind as we delve deeper into her work. I'm also blown away by her songwriting output, especially when you consider all the awards and recognition she's receiving.
Well, let's dig into those a bit more, because she has achieved a lot in a short time. So she snagged bronze and silver certifications at the WCOPA in Hollywood.
WCOPA.
Which is the World Championships of Performing Arts.
Right.
Attracts talent from all over the globe.
So to win there.
It speaks to her versatility.
Especially since she won for dancing, modeling, and vocals.
Yeah.
A triple threat.
It makes you wonder if she, approaches songwriting differently when she's also considering visual and the movement aspects.
I mean, it's got to influence her in some way, right?
It's possible.
Having those other artistic outlets.
Yeah.
And not just any venues either.
Right.
She got an invitation to perform at Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall?
Yeah.
That's almost unbelievable.
For someone her age,
yeah,
her bio describes her as a courageous and free spirit in the music world.
What do they mean by that?
Courageous.
Yeah.
Maybe she's tackling difficult subjects in her music, or experimenting with unconventional sounds and styles.
What do you think?
I'm leaning towards the unconventional sounds and styles.
Yeah.
You know how we talked about Petrichor having that cleansing, almost ethereal feel?
Yeah.
Maybe she's using, unique musical technique.
To create that atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's a great observation. We haven't really talked about the musicality of her work yet.
Yeah.
Her bio also describes Mortal as an introspective odyssey that leaves a lasting imprint on the soul.
That seems...
Very lofty.
It does, right?
For song.
Is it possible to be both a pop musician and a philosopher at the same time?
Is she trying to do too much?
Maybe, especially for someone so young.
It's the $1 million question.
I know.
Can she be catchy and thought-provoking?
Yeah.
Maybe she's aiming for a depth that's, beyond her years.
Right.
But is that sustainable?
And is it genuine?
Right.
She's still a kid. Is this profound insight really coming from her?
Yeah.
Or is she, being molded by adults who want to create this image of a prodigy?
That's where things get tricky.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate the artist from the industry machine these days.
It really is.
But let's go back to the lyrics for a minute.
Okay.
See if we can find some clues about her authenticity.
All right, let's focus on Mortal again.
Okay.
There's that line, it's not the time to think about eternity because it doesn't really stay. Mm-hmm. It does feel profound.
Yeah.
But it also feels a bit rehearsed.
Okay.
Like something an adult might say.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
There's a wisdom there.
Yeah.
That seems beyond her years.
Exactly.
But maybe that's the point.
Okay.
Maybe she's channeling something bigger than herself.
Okay.
Tapping into a universal truth about the human condition.
But if she's simply repeating what she's heard from adults, is it really her truth? Or is it just a performance?
That's a question for the listener to ponder.
It is a good question.
I think it's important to acknowledge both the potential and the limitations of youth.
Right.
She might be a brilliant songwriter, but she's also still figuring out who she is and what she wants to say.
Totally. And that journey of self-discovery will likely shape her music.
Absolutely.
In the years to come.
We're witnessing the very beginning of her career.
Right.
And that's always the most intriguing part. There's so much potential. So much room for growth.
For sure.
And evolution.
It makes you want to fast forward 10 years.
Right.
And see where she ends up.
Exactly.
Will she become the global icon everyone expects her to be?
Right.
Or will she forge a different path entirely?
Only time will tell.
I guess so.
But regardless of what the future holds, she's already made a mark on the music world.
That's for sure.
And that's something to celebrate.
So before we move on, what are your overall impressions of Lady Galaxy so far?
I think she's a fascinating case study.
Okay.
There's undeniable talent there.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of pressure on her to succeed. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how she navigates the industry.
Yeah.
And maintains her artistic integrity as she matures.
Let's talk a little more about that pressure and how it might be influencing her music. Yeah, it's interesting you bring up that point about pressure. She's 12, already performing on a global stage, being lauded as this voice of a generation. That kind of expectation can be a lot to carry.
Absolutely makes you wonder how much of her creative output is driven by her own passions
Right.
versus external pressures to meet these expectations.
Exactly. Is she writing what she feels or what she thinks people want to hear?
Right. And how does that impact the authenticity of her music?
It's hard to say. We've been analyzing her lyrics,
Right.
trying to uncover her creative process,
Yeah.
but maybe it's too early to tell.
Maybe, or maybe the answer lies somewhere in between.
Right.
Perhaps she's genuinely passionate about music,
Yeah.
but also aware of the industry's demands.
Right. It's like she's balancing this desire to express herself with the need to please her audience and the adults in her life.
Yeah, it's a delicate balancing act for any artist.
Especially for someone so young.
Right. Makes you wonder how much control she actually has over her own career.
Her bio does mention her family's involvement in her musical journey.
Okay.
It seems like they're very supportive.
But could that support also be a form of pressure?
That's possible. The line between encouragement and pressure.
Right.
It can be blurry, especially in a field as competitive as music.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to think about, but I think it's important to acknowledge these complexities when we talk about young artists.
Yeah.
They're not just blank slates, they're individuals
Right.
with their own dreams, desires, and vulnerabilities.
And those vulnerabilities can be amplified
Exactly.
when you're thrust into the spotlight at such a young age.
Yeah. It's crucial to remember that she's still developing as a person and as an artist.
For sure.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Lady Galaxy,
Yeah.
what are your final thoughts?
I'm left with a sense of cautious optimism.
Okay.
There's no doubt that she possesses remarkable talent and potential, but it's important to approach her music with a critical ear,
Right.
to look beyond the hype and the accolades, and to consider the complexities of her situation.
I agree. She's a fascinating artist who's just beginning to explore her voice. It'll be interesting to see how she navigates the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
And it's up to each listener to decide what they take away from her music. Is she a genuine voice for change?
Yeah.
A talented performer caught in the industry machine, or something in between? Those are the questions we should all be asking ourselves.
Well said. And on that note, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We've talked about her past achievements and speculated about her future, but ultimately it's her present that matters most. Take the time to listen to her music, engage with her lyrics, and form your own opinions. Let her art speak to you and see where it takes you.
I think that's the perfect way to end this deep dive. Let's all keep listening, keep exploring, and keep asking questions.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Stirs my soul to wonder where I find you from.